In today's Leeds news, Birmingham Gelhardt interest but nothing close. Marathe's full-time move, Paixao position in Leeds United's pecking order, and Longstaff has nothing to prove. Monday the 3rd of August at the Leeds View. Ger here with your daily Leeds United news. Do these Monday to Friday, as well as a transfer wrap-up at the weekend. And 2 podcasts a week are available on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your audio feeds. I hope you've all had a really nice weekend. Apologies for this one getting out late. I did say last week that I'd try and get something out on Monday. I was at a wedding over the weekend as well, so congrats to Dave and Avril on their wedding yesterday, which was a fantastic day, but we got back late today, so this is where we are right now. Game last night against Liverpool, cracking second half by Leeds, shows the absolute need for Dominic Calvert-Lewin replacement, backup, second option like him, because he made a huge difference when he was back on the pitch last night. Unfortunately, Gabby Goodmunson went off what appears to be some form, no detail on how serious it is, some form of hamstring injury, which again will now just highlight the fact that Leeds need to get their skates on, get themselves a left back cover if they possibly can. And Noah Okafor is back with the squad this week. Yakubiel should be making progress from his knee injury. Hopefully get him back involved. And we're getting closer and closer to having everyone back involved. And if rumours to be believed, the comments are to be believed, we could see James Trafford within the next 2 days. So that'll be interesting to see as well as he gets back from his holidays. We got a bit of stuff to get stuck into. Not an awful lot. It is very quiet. So we'll start off though with a possible exit around Joe Gelhardt again. So Joe Gelhardt's Leeds future appears to be coming closer to a head rather than necessarily steamrolling towards a head. And Championship side Birmingham City are the latest club to be linked with Joffrey, according to BBC's Mike White. Now, to be very clear on this, Mike White is stopping short of saying anything is imminent in happening. It came out on social media over the weekend. A lot of people have ran with this. It's gained its own set of legs here, and it's gone from being Birmingham City are interested in Joe Gelhardt to Birmingham City are putting a £9 or £10 million offer on the table. The medical has been booked, to nearly done. And White is very clear on this. He doesn't believe anything is imminent right now and has poured a little bit of cold water on an immediate move for Joe Gelhardt. Now, Hull, again, we're asked about it. Hull's chairman was again asked about this last week. And again, pretty much said similar thing. They like Gelhardt, but it is the manager's decision and they will likely get their primary targets out of the way before revisiting a move for Joe Gelhardt. They might not get the chance they want on that. They're hoping that nobody really comes in for Gelhardt and they can get him for £3 to £5 million come the end of the window. Now, Birmingham City's interest, as I say, has done the round on social media. And White has confirmed that the interest from Birmingham in Gelhardt is genuine interest. But he also said, and this is really interesting to me, there are several other clubs also interested in a move for Joe Gelhardt. And that will play perfectly into Leeds' hands this summer. The more clubs that get involved and are interested in Joe Gelhardt, the more likely Leeds will be to get the valuation that they want for him. The worst case scenario is nobody gets involved and someone comes in at the end and gets him on a cut price deal. Now, Gelhardt's currently training with the Leeds United under-21s right now. He's not part of the first team squad. It's very clear that Leeds are going to move him on, but there's no deal done yet. Nothing imminent, but one very much to keep a close eye on over the next couple of days and weeks. Let's move on. So it came out over the weekend that Leeds United CEO Paraag Marathe has stepped away from the San Francisco 49ers NFL franchise after 25 years to focus fully on Leeds United and Glasgow Rangers. So the detail on this is important, but also the detail on what he did as the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers and what he does as the CEO of Leeds United. And the differences between those, because some content creators from the 49ers sides have been saying lots of things that don't really necessarily impact Leeds United. They are very different roles with very different sets of responsibilities. But the detail on the exit comes from ESPN's Adam Schefter, who broke the news on Saturday saying that Marathe is exiting the NFL side entirely, and it's being described as the formalization of something that had been in motion for a while rather than a sudden call. He has been more and more visible on the, in inverted commas, soccer side of the 49ers Enterprises portfolio. And Marathe has been central to what the 49ers have built in San Francisco. He's labelled as being massively behind football operations, central in their salary cap formulation as well, contract negotiations and the development of Levi Stadium. He was given praise by some content creators from the San Francisco side on his initial impact when he went into the club. The club were in a mess at the time. He helped sort them out, put the salary cap in place, got the stadium built. So a lot of really good stuff. But he has been criticised by some of these people about slow negotiations and the reason why certain deals didn't get done, or they didn't get the value for money that they should have gotten in some of the deals. Marathe's full-time job will now be, or his day-to-day job will now be Leeds United. He stepped down from his vice chair role at Glasgow Rangers towards the back end of last season over multi-club model issues that could impact Leeds and Rangers down the road if both sides end up in the same European competition. But he will still have some jobs or some role behind the scenes at Rangers, although the 49ers are a minority shareholder there. Andrew Kavanagh is the lead shareholder at Glasgow Rangers. Now, the big question on this is going to be, will the criticism from the 49ers content creators and fans that he's gotten over there start to blend through and become part of a narrative around criticism he might get at Leeds United? So it is important, I suppose, to know the differences between what he did and where those criticisms lie. As an NFL GM with the 49ers, he was involved in negotiating deals, salary caps, player salaries coming in, and the lengths of the deal, and generally the all-together negotiations of getting those deals across the line before they were then handed on to the management team or the American footballing side of their game. But at Leeds, as the CEO, he's more in charge of the overall running of the football club. Greta Steinson is the head of football operations at Leeds United and Glasgow Rangers. He oversees Leeds' whole portfolio there. Adam Underwood and Robbie Evans are far more involved in the weeds of getting fees agreed, contract negotiations, lengths of contract and all that. So he's not really in the same mould there. They are very different roles on two very different structures and hierarchies of sporting organisations. So it's not necessarily the same thing. But some of the content creators, put it this way, who have been making these claims about Paraag Marathe were the same people that this time last year were saying that Leeds United spending money during the Premier League season was money that were taken directly from the 49ers NFL franchise to fund, which, as we all know from PSR last year, isn't even possible. You can't even do that. So Leeds have got their own money generated from the huge amount of money that comes in from being a Premier League club. So take anything that's said from the American footballing side of this with a pinch of salt. That's all I would say. There will be some crossover, but not as much as is being made out. Let's move on. So Igor Paixao, let's get stuck into this one again. Leeds' interest in Igor Paixao is at the very least getting very interesting again, because unlike last year, where Leeds were acting like a teenage boy chasing his first crush around the playground, this time around they appear to have grown up a little bit and are playing a little bit harder to get to try and bring in the Brazilian. And the reports in France have said that Leeds have reopened negotiations with Paixao's entourage, but multiple outlets have labelled him as third choice in the Leeds pecking order to bring in a player who can play as a 10 after missing out on Julian Brandt. Now, Marseille bought him from under Leeds' nose last summer for £30 million, and they're now believed to want £42 million for him, which seems very unlikely to be a fee that Leeds would agree to pay, specifically because Leeds are about to break the transfer record on James Trafford, and then I can't see them breaking it again straight afterwards on Paixao, especially that there are other options. The bigger story here, and it is the other options, is the bigger piece of this, and the more interesting part of this is the pecking order. Every outlet in France has said that he's third choice for Leeds on a player they want for this position, which is interesting because there isn't really an indication of who they all are. There's possibly one, and that could be Pavel Schultz. In League One last season, Igor Paixao scored 6 goals and added 5 assists, so 11 GNA. And one of the names that could be above him is Pavel Schultz from Lyon, who last season scored 11 goals and added 3 assists, so 14 GNA. Now, he's currently the subject of an absolute ton of rumours about his future. There were some photographs floating around the internet over the weekend of him potentially in an airport. It could be him. It could also not be him. There's a pair of glasses he was wearing is the biggest indicator that it was him. But if he's not included in Lyon's squad tomorrow night for their Champions League qualifier, that will likely increase the speculation. Again, and Leeds continue to be the club named with making the move for him. And that could very well be it. But that's 2 names. Still one missing if he's third choice. And there's no other name currently, that might change, but currently floating around that's being linked with Leeds United. And you get the feeling that that's probably the one that Leeds are going to bring in if they do bring in someone in that position, because again, this summer it's been very quiet when Leeds have made their moves. But yeah, I just don't see Leeds United paying £42 million for Paixao when they were trying to stretch to pay 30 million last summer for him. But yeah, we'll see if the mystery player comes in or if it's one of the two in Sulc and Igor Paixao. But where we are right now, Leeds would need to start speeding things up. If Zinny Boswell's report over the weekend was true, the Leeds are looking to bring in 6 players, including James Trafford, so 5 additional ones. Need to speed that up because they're averaging 1 every week and a half at the moment. So need to speed it up a little bit. Let's move on to Sean Longstaff. Probably safe to say that Sean Longstaff's season last year was start then stop. He looked really good when he first came in. He had a huge amount of games back to back before he then picked up a calf injury, and that saw him out for 2 months. And when he came back, he did seem to struggle to get back up to the levels that he's had before. The very end of the season, we started to see those levels yet again and became a very important player towards the back end of the season. Longstaff has been looking back on last season and ahead to the new season and doesn't believe that he's got anything to prove in a Leeds United shirt. Longstaff, as I say, had issues last year. He didn't start a single Premier League game from November last year after missing 2 months with a calf injury. And before that, he had 10 straight starts in a row. Now, by the time he returned to Leeds United, Daniel Farke had ripped up the playbook that we started the season with. We'd gone to 3 at the back and the midfield was completely locked down. And Longstaff had to be happy with a place on the bench and an impact sub. He did speak to LUTV after last night's win over Liverpool, and he had the following to say. On the pitch, I try make the most of it and show what I can do. I'm not out there trying to prove anything to anyone really, just trying to enjoy it as much as I can. It seems to be going okay at the minute, so hopefully that continues. He was also then asked about Leeds United set pieces. We saw Leeds score twice from 2 long throws last night, and he will be one of the players that is on the list of Leeds United set piece takers, whether it's a free kick or corners. He'd be whipping them in from the left-hand side. So he was asked about the importance of that, and he said this. I think last year it was a massive part of a game, and it seems to be getting harder and harder to score from open play in the Premier League. I think for every team, there will be a massive chance to score a goal, and we're no different. We took advantage of it really well last year, and it's something we want to prove on again going into this season. The fact that Leeds have added Harry Wilson, Muharramovic, Jacobiot's going to come back. Leeds are looking for a 6-foot+ striker to add more competition with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We saw the importance of him in the box last night, Sebastian Borneo, when he was in and around there as well. So it makes sense that Leeds would still try and utilise set pieces going into next season. But the very minimum of fit and healthy Sean Longstaff could be a very important player for Leeds. I know I've said over the summer, I just get a niggly feeling Leeds might move a him or a Gruev on and bring in somebody else in that midfield. But if Sean Longstaff is fit and healthy, and I like Sean Longstaff, I like his energy, I like the battling that he brings. When he's in there with an Anton Stack and an Ethan Ampadu, he's a bit freer to do what he wants. When Ampadu and Stack aren't in there, he doesn't necessarily control the midfield as well as they do. But with those two, it's a really strong 3 in the middle of the park. So if we can keep him fit and healthy for the season, he is that kind of midfielder that can pop up on the edge of the box and get you some goals. He's one of the few players we have that can strike a ball from distance and score as well. You're adding Wilson to that portfolio as well now. So you've got a chance to get another player who could chip in with a fair amount of goals next season. If you could get 6 to 8 goals from midfield next year, probably a very good season. So fingers crossed he can do that. Fingers crossed we keep him fit and healthy. But he's getting a good pre-season with Leeds right now. So that's all very positive. That'll be it for me, folks. Thanks as always for supporting the channel. If you want to stick a like on the channel, if you're not subscribed, think about subscribing. We've had over 112,000 people view the channel in the last 12 days. So if you're not subscribed, consider that. And if you're listening on the audios, give us a follow and a channel rating. And I will see you tomorrow morning as we get back into our normal routine for news and podcasts this week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye.